Recording in progress. Right, I'm going to share the screen, guys, because I wanted it to be more of an open chat, but I kind of guess it's hard to chat about this when, Kaylee, you've only just started in the maintenance phase, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
And Steve's in his dieting phase. Claire's been in a maintenance phase a little bit, though, so
Yeah.
you might be able to share a bit of knowledge. One sec. Let me just share the screen.
Yeah. At all4.com.
Wicked. Can we see? Yeah?
Yeah.
You can see the screen.
Yeah.
It's fab. Hey, my amazing presentation. So, maintenance phase, to be fair, I've done it on this because there wasn't any other suggestions really for the subject. So if you guys, you and Steve ever want to go through, hello. Repping, taking Ben out, he's repping the SME. Yeah, if you guys, because I know you two jump on a lot, if there's any subjects in particular that you two want to go through, then obviously just let us know. But I think maintenance, to be fair, especially the time of year that we're in right now, is a good subject because even if we're in a fat loss phase on paper, I think a lot of us will be putting ourselves either in a maintenance phase or a surplus just with the social occasions that are coming up. So it's a good idea to understand a little bit about it. It's quite elusive. Not many people actually get a handle on it, I think. Do you think the same, Claire? Everybody thinks that they're either in a fat loss phase or a gaining phase, and not many people appreciate or spend enough time at a maintenance, do they?
No, I think a lot of people think they just get fat because they're leaving the fat loss phase and they think they're going to gain straight away, but it can be like a good little reset, especially mentally as well.
Yeah, I think as well, like people don't actually know what it is because the thing that sells is fat loss. Like all you see on Instagram and social media is that transformation picture of someone losing a lot of body fat. We don't necessarily see the transformation in both physical and mental advantages of being in a maintenance phase. So obviously, Kaylee, you've seen quite a few, haven't you? Oh, must be some fireworks going on.
No, Blake's just coming.
All right. Yeah, so you're in a maintenance phase at the minute and you're loving life right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty cake.
All the cake. Yeah, you can have that though because you train hard. So obviously, because there's not much around it, when we Jane's here, is here now? Jane in. Wait for her to join because I know she would benefit from this. Why has she not got video on? Come on, Jane, sort it out. Let's see your face, hon. She's trying to hide the drinks.
No, she's just tried alcohol-free wine.
So. Oh, really? Mine's alcohol-free, Jane. Hello, how are you?
All right. The gin's all right, Claire.
Right, good.
What was it?
That wine was
gin?
Alcohol-free gin is actually all right. The wine just tasted like apple juice. It was shit.
There's quite a big section now on alcohol-free in the supermarkets, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I've not had a telling off from Claire, but we've made the decision that I need to cut back on alcohol, but I like the taste of it. So alcohol-free gin it is.
Maybe it'll have a placebo effect. Maybe you'll feel drunk just from tasting it.
See, that's the thing. I don't drink and get drunk. I can drink 2 bottles of wine and be fine.
Yeah. Maybe that was a good choice then to lay off a little bit if that was the case. I'd be under the table.
This is the problem. I've got a high tolerance for alcohol. I can get, I can like drink and drink and drink.
What's the calories compared with the alcohol-free?
For 100 ml of gin, it's 12 calories.
Decent.
And that would be what? I think it's 50 for 25 ml.
I wonder how they make the gin taste the same without the alcohol. It's mad, that, isn't it?
But it's basically it's the same like process, I think. But obviously, with the alcohol, you have to put preservatives in so it doesn't go all rotten.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this is for you as well, Jane, because you're in a maintenance phase at the minute, aren't you? So we're just
Something
going
like that.
through. But if you want to interrupt at any time, if you've got any questions with anything that I say, anything you don't agree with, anything you want more information with, then don't hesitate just to jump in. So literally this is the second slide. So a little bit about what a maintenance phase in. We was just discussing to say, like, on Instagram, you don't really see much about this phase because it's not as sexy as being in a fat loss phase. You don't see that before and after. You don't get drawn in with it, and you don't necessarily see that immediate feedback in your physique like you would do being in a fat loss phase. So sometimes it can be a hard process to get into. But once you're there, you'll obviously feel the benefits from it. But first of all, what is it and why should we spend some time in this phase? Does anybody want to guess or know what the maintenance phase is?
Well, I was going to say I'll let Kaylee or Jane say rather than us answer.
Your test as well.
Well, it's obviously you're at calories where you're not gaining or losing, so it's like a little reset in between that. So if you were in a maintenance, you'd work that out if your scale weight was going to go up or down. If it stays the same, then you know that you're at maintenance.
Yeah. So if we're looking at it from a calorie perspective, that's what it would do. So we all know, or we should know, to be in a fat loss phase, we want to be in a calorie deficit, surplus, calorie surplus, to gain muscle. And then obviously a maintenance, we kind of want to be staying the same, but I will come on to that because that is an interesting fact. With the maintenance phase, it's not just staying the same. So I'll come on to that in a second. So why is my presentation not working? Whoa. Hey. So what is it? The name gives it away. This is a phase where we aim to continue the habits that got us to where we are, but cease to push further. So I think this is a lot better way of putting it rather than just saying we're going to aim to stay the same, because a lot of people, when they get to that place of maintenance, they wonder, right, well, what the fuck do I do now? All I know up to this point is what I did previous to this fat loss phase, and all I know now is fat loss. So what do I do to stay the same? Well, you have to continue the habits that got you to where you are now, but we're not continuing to push further. So there's a little bit, probably, obviously, if you're in a gaining phase, you're going to reduce calories slightly, reduce output, increase output. And the opposite is true. If you're in a fat loss phase and you want to kind of maintain them results that you've got so far, rather than just saying, right, we want to just keep the calories the same, it's actually the habits as well that you've started in that fat loss phase that are going to continue the results that you've got. And I think that's the place where people usually come unstuck, because they kind of revert back to what they was doing before, and then it's easily to reverse everything, all the hard work that you've put in. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I think people think, oh, well, if I'm going into maintenance, I don't need to eat decent foods or track my calories. They don't see it as progress, even though it is. Because you can, if you take to maintenance, I bet you train better in the gym as well, rather than being in a constant diet phase.
Yeah, and I know this because I've done it before when I was competing. You've probably done it before as well, Claire. In fact, I know that you've done it before. But when it's the end of the dieting phase, obviously when you're getting on stage, it's slightly different. There's a definitive end, but it's like, right, fuck it. Everything I've missed out on, everything I was doing before, I want to go out every single weekend, want to eat all the cake. Yeah, so it's reverting back to, and then like 3 months down the line, you're like, fuck, I'm right back to where I started. But for people who want to do this, where they want to continue and keep those results, because it's like with the challenges, you only see that transformation. You don't see what someone looks like three months down the line.
Yeah.
Whereas if we go into a structured maintenance phase straight after you've been in a fat loss phase, it's not quite a harsh transition back into that surplus. So you're not freaking out. you still have to maintain a level of those habits that got you there. So that is kind of what a maintenance phase is, or what we would say a maintenance phase is at SME. So why would you want to do a maintenance phase? So any of you guys that are in a maintenance phase at the minute, or even Claire, if you've done one before, what's the reason, if you don't mind sharing, why you're in a maintenance phase right now, or looking to go into one, or have done one in the past?
I think for me, obviously, I was in a diet phase for ages, especially that lockdown one. I think it was like 27 weeks.
Yeah.
And then obviously we went on holiday anyway. But obviously, most recently, I'm eating the most calories I've ever ate, but I've not really lost anything because I've not been a dickhead this time round. I've kept the habits that obviously you've shown me over the past 2 years, and it has helped. But training intensity's better because I'm not hanging out my arse and low energy because I'm eating more.
And I think the interesting thing with that, and with your story, and probably with my story as well, it's took you 2 years to get to that point where you're eating a good amount of calories and it becomes more of a lifestyle change. Whereas some of you guys probably listening through YouTube who are clients of ours, once you fuck up once, like, that's fine. Like, don't be too hard on yourself, because it doesn't matter if you fuck up, like, it's life. You have to go through this process probably quite a few times until you get a handle on it. Like, if you try a maintenance phase the first time and it's not successful, that's fine. Like, all you would do is you use that data then to next time. So say if you go too far the other way and you need to tidy things up a little bit, that's fine. Next time you've got data that you used on your last maintenance phase. Okay, that didn't work so quite so well. I was probably a little bit too flexible. The habits that I did in my dieting phase were probably a little bit too restrictive. So next time you go into that maintenance phase, all you do is you tweak it and it gets a little bit better. So if you are new on this journey and you're coming to the end of your dieting phase and you're going into that maintenance phase, don't think it has to be a perfect thing. Like, it's fine. Things can change. Goals can change. Life changes. Like, fuck it, we've just been through a bloody world pandemic. Like, everything we can adapt and grow and learn. Like, learning is the main thing. So these are a few of the reasons that I've come up with. Obviously, you might have your own. It might be additional ones for you. So you've achieved a physique that you are happy with. And I think this is key. Like, there's a difference between being shredded and having a physique that you're happy to live with. Yeah, we all know that once you get to a photo shoot condition or competing condition, that's not a maintainable physique, especially as a female. So being in a physique that you are happy with all year round is probably a good time to then try and maintain that. Because you know if you're going to be pushing further and restricting further, then it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to maintain. This is one that I get quite a lot with me anyway. You're fucking sick of dieting. It's been 27 years. Been on a diet for 40 years.
That's
right?
me when I popped out of the room.
That is a valid point, because if you're sick of what you're doing, like, how are you going to adhere to that? And what you'll find is that you're pushing diet, doing it all week, and then it's getting to the weekend and you're that sick of dieting, you're like, fuck this, I can't do this over the weekend. And you end up putting yourself into a maintenance anyway. But the difference is, because it's not been agreed, you just feel guilty. So if you are fucking sick of dieting, you might not have even achieved the physique goal that you were setting out to. That's cool. You might do a little bit of a maintenance until you get your head back in the game. And this again is, if you are, obviously with you guys, you are coached, but then anybody listening to this who isn't coached, it's just key to then be so transparent with your coach and communicate. Because it might be that we tell you, right, guys, another week of pushing on, and you're like, I can't fucking deal with another week of dieting. Like, you just need to communicate. Because at the end of the day, you're the pilot, we just advise. It's your journey at the end of the day. Another reason why you might want to go into a maintenance, your body's showing signs that it's time. So I've put in brackets health markers, biofeedback. So when you've been dieting before, Claire, have you had any health markers or biofeedback that it's time to go into a maintenance phase?
Just how I felt at the end of the prep. I think obviously everyone noticed my energy had zapped, and I'd take time to finish a conversation.
He's like, yeah, my sessions were shite.
No, there was only one.
Claire?
No, there was only one really bad one where I thought I was going to have to make her lie down because she stopped speaking mid-sentence and her eyes rolled back in her head.
That's just Claire, though.
No, it was definitely down to food because she looked like she wanted to eat me.
Yeah. What about you guys? Like, have you guys noticed anything in your dieting phases where you thought, right, this is probably getting to the end now where I want to like stop pushing?
I think with me, it was like the end of the last lockdown. Claire had me on quite low calories and she kind of just said, right, that's it, you can't do anymore. Because I got to a point where I couldn't even think straight. And I couldn't train my body. I just felt physically drained and I just couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
Cognitive function, so brain function, is a massive biofeedback marker. So if you start losing concentration, it's directly related to both calories and fat intake. And unsurprisingly, because fats are the highest calorie macro, they do go quite low to the end of the diet. And we wouldn't want those to go low for a long period of time. Sometimes our mental fortitude is like in that dieting phase where you're like, nah, I want to keep going. But then it's your body that's pushing back. And unless you are getting on stage or unless you are really pushing for like a photo shoot shredded condition, then you need to listen to your body. But again, it's all data that you can then use again in the future. Did any of you guys do blood tests or done blood tests before?
No.
Yeah.
That's what doctors, that's no good doing that. We want a blood test.
Your bloods are good now though, aren't they, Steve? Your health markers are amazing right now.
Oh, yes, perfect. Better than the worst.
Spot on. Yeah, so bloods are always a good idea, especially if you have done something like got on stage or a photo shoot, or if you've started to feel the negative sides of a diet. So as you're coming out of a diet, a blood test would probably be a good thing. You can literally just get these on MediChecks and it gives us more information as coaches as well. General fatigue and also your motivation. So we know that motivation can peak and trough, but if you are someone that loves going into the gym and training, when you're in a dieting phase, if literally like you don't want to train, you're not getting excited by training, and this is probably time that it's time to come out of the fat loss phase. But I'm just going at from a fat loss perspective. Obviously, we can go the other way. So if your body's showing signs that it's time, so if you are in a calorie surplus and your body's showing that you're gaining too much body fat, then it might be time to pull back a little bit. So it works both ways. And this is a massive one as well, which is sometimes not the number one priority, which it should be. Priorities have changed. So I know you guys who are listening live, obviously you've been coaching with us for a good amount of time now. If you think back to when you first started, when you were coaching and how your life looked then, I'm pretty sure it's probably a lot different than what it is now in some respects, right? So it's okay for your goals to change along the way. And I think people, especially like people who maybe jump from challenge to challenge or coach to coach, don't appreciate that things can change. Like we can adapt to the goal for you, we can support you in different ways, and it's fine to not want to have to lose body fat if you are going through certain life events or work stresses or external stresses. That's cool. And sometimes it's literally not the best thing to go through that. So if you are in a stressful state, if you try adding on further stress of pushing your body into a deficit from a health perspective, that's not good as well. So that's something to consider. And again, try to be as transparent with your coach as possible. Any questions on that or further comments? No.
Yeah.
No. Like, hurry up, Sam. It's Friday night. Fuck off. No, but literally, I do think it's a phase where a lot of people should spend a good amount of time for sure. And Claire, like when you've had clients in a maintenance phase, have you noticed positive effects in terms of body composition? Because I know sometimes when I put people from a dieting phase into a maintenance phase, they continue to lose body fat because they're less stressed out, the sleep gets better, they're not as stressed thinking they have to diet. And you can actually have a positive effect in that phase as well.
I think Rachel and Donna with me at the minute, like obviously they both starting to look a little bit leaner, and even scale weight has gone down with Rachel, even though her calories, I think she's on 2,000. So she's probably still in a bit of a deficit with that. So we're pushing up a little bit. I don't like saying diet breaks. It gives people the wrong idea of going off track, but a little bit of maintenance, then take it back down before we actually go into a build eventually.
Yeah, Kayla, you was the same when we started increasing your calories. We continued to lose, didn't we?
Yeah.
For a period of time, because sometimes the amount of a deficit you're in. So say if we start putting your calories up, but so say your maintenance calories, this is just a really broad example, is 2,000, but you've been dieting on 1,500, it might seem a lot to put your calories up to 1,800 and you're thinking, shit. But if you stick to that, you're still in a deficit. So that's why you would continue to drop, even though you're on a lot more calories, and you'll feel like, oh, obviously your body's less stressed because you're getting more food in there. So that's another way of looking at it as well. So don't be afraid of getting those calories up. Claire's definitely not afraid of getting the calories up. So what changes in this phase? Obviously I've already given you the answer, not much. Yeah. What made it will maintain it, and you can't go back into fuck it mode. Yeah. So has anybody gone into fuck it mode before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let Claire answer that one for me.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, we're humans, we have emotions, we're not robots. Like, at the end of the day, this is here to support your lifestyle, and it's not designed to be your whole life. Yeah. Some people, this will mean have a bigger portion of their life than others. And some people, it's just there in the background, which is fine as well. Everybody's individual. But whatever got you to your results, in terms of the habits and the changes that you made in your lifestyle, are what are going to keep it. To what degree you want to keep those results is obviously down to you. We can provide the tools and let you know, right, this is what you need to do to maintain it. And like I said before, if you're not asked about maintaining those results, it doesn't matter. You can just whatever you want to do. Like, you're an adult at the end of the day. But you have to be aware that you've made some lifestyle changes. You have to continue those to move forward. Yeah. Anyone struggled in the maintenance phase yet? If you've not, then you're smashing life, because I struggled when I went into my first maintenance phase. Have a guess how much scale weight I gained after my first show.
Was it as much as when I went Cape Verde?
What did you gain?
I got 10 kilograms, didn't I? I think a lot of that was, no, I'll say it, some of it was water, but I think a lot of it was still fat as well.
Well, mine was over 22 months, not a week, but...
Hey, no, it was 2 week Cape Verde.
2 weeks. Well, Claire's smashing it on the time that it took to gain that weight. Yeah, but my first, I say maintenance because obviously it was not, I gained £50. So if you work that out in kilos, I don't know what that is, divide it by 2.2. So yeah, if you're struggling in the maintenance phase and it's your first one, do not worry. But I wanted to put this point out there because I do have quite a few clients who have been through a maintenance phase, and as soon as that scale starts going up when the quote unquote in the maintenance, start freaking out. So the scale weight's gone up and they're like, oh, I'm in a deficit, I need to reduce calories. And obviously you guys know that, or you should know that maintenance isn't linear. Our bodies are amazing beings. We're fluid. We will respond to our environments. We are not designed to just stay the same. So like you get fluctuations in a deficit, like you get fluctuations in a surplus, you are going to get fluctuations in a maintenance. So if you are somebody who does take scale weight into consideration with your check-ins, like I always say to my guys that are at maintenance, like 4 to 5 pounds either side of your baseline low. And if you're a female, more than that around the time of your cycle is cool. As long as you're doing the shit that you need to do to be in that maintenance phase. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
Does anybody freak out when they get on the scale and they've gained weight, even though they're meant to be at maintenance?
Yep.
You're in a deficit, Steve.
I pointed at her, not me.
All right. Like your scale, it should be coming down. Yeah, so Kaylee, if you are somebody who freaks out if it goes up and down, then it's probably a good time to have something like visually around you, which gives you a reminder. Because I know certainly for me, especially when I've been in maintenance phases before as well, especially in the early days, when I wasn't coaching, would be exactly the same. It's like, what have I done wrong? Like, my scale weight's been up for 3 weeks. Like, what the fuck? But let's have a reel off. I know we do this all the time, of all the things that can affect the scale weight. The massive one is the one that I posted about on my Instagram today, if you've read that.
Stress.
Stress.
And obviously
Stress can have a massive impact.
Training, inflammation, carbs, water, period.
Period, Steve.
Constipation.
Yeah, we know about that. I know about that. Yeah, so there's all these things, and obviously what the scale is telling us is our total body weight, total being the key word. Everything that's in your body at the time, that's what it's going to say. And it might be in this maintenance phase that you start pulling back. So I've got a few guys at the minute who only check the scale weight every month or every 2 weeks. Yeah, so it's not like I rarely check my scale weight now. Unless I was in a dieting phase, I just wouldn't check it because I know how I go off body pictures, how my clothes are feeling, and that's where we want you guys to be as well. So if it's not linear, chill, Kaylee, chill. Got this under control.
I am chilled. It doesn't bother me now as much as it did.
What?
It doesn't bother me now as much as it did.
There you go. That's progress, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I did ask for questions on this, but nobody gave me any. So I'm only going to go off the one person that did ask me questions. Okay. So the question was, how to avoid going back to old habits when you come out of a dieting phase. How would you go about this one, Claire?
Well, I think this time round, I just kept my food decent. Like, obviously, I still log, and I'm not saying you have to log forever, but I just like doing that because I'm aware I've got a meeting. But
yeah,
keeping the
I think
habits
for
in.
us as well, we have to take a step back and realise that some guys haven't been doing this for 10 years like we have. They're not coaches, they don't obviously get paid to be in a dieting phase. So it's easy for us to say that, but like for clients, how would you avoid them going back into old habits?
Depends how long they've been doing it, doesn't it? So if they've only been doing it a few months, right, you're going to keep them on track and still managing. I'd always say like the 80-20 rule with food, but not over restricting yourself that way.
Yeah. Luckily for you guys, I fucking wrote loads of options down. Right, so a couple of things, because obviously I've only got 8 minutes left, and don't hesitate to just jump in if you've got other things that you would do. So prepare yourself well into the dieting phase so it doesn't come as a shock. I know this is like should come as second nature, but a lot of people are so focused when they're in that phase is they forget that at some point it's going to come to an end. So start mentally preparing yourself when you're in that dieting phase that at some point this dieting phase is going to end. I'm going to have to go back to or move forward to, shall I say, into this maintenance phase. So getting your brain ready. A big one is, what have you been missing out on in your dieting phase and why were you restricting that anyway? Does it serve you now? So for people who are not getting on stage, even the people that are getting on stage, those who are doing a photo shoot, what have you been restricting and why? Because 90% of you should be on a dieting phase. Fair enough if you've been restricting like cigarettes. Like I've had a few people that quit smoking when they come to us. That's probably not a good thing to get back into, is it, after the dieting phase? But other than that, like, why have you been restricting it? Yeah. So even though people are on a dieting phase, obviously we want people to eat 80% nutritionally dense food sources for health reasons. Like that is something that you should want to do moving forward. But if your diet is set up in a way that all you can think about at the end is everything that you've been missing out on, then it's probably the dieting phase that's the issue and not the maintenance phase. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Has anybody dieted before where all they could think about is getting to the end of this diet and then going back to what they was doing before? Because I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that different to what you've been doing on your last dieting phase, or would you say that your last dieting phase you was too restrictive?
I think the more you do, the more you learn about yourself as well. Like, I think a lot of people on the first ones, they generally can't wait to get to the end and then maybe undo it all, and then they have to go back and forth. And you do learn more the more that you do it.
Yeah. What was you going to say, Jane?
I think towards the end of mine, it got quite restrictive, but I didn't have many calories to play with. So it was like the choices I was making was like, would I rather eat cake or should I eat steak instead? Because the steak's going to make me stay fuller than the cake would, even though the cake would taste nice.
Yeah. But then
what I tended to do was I'd make Olivia eat a piece of cake and I have like a tiny bite of it.
Yeah. But like moving forward, probably like how would you then interpret that data? Because don't forget, like this is like a lifetime's work if you go about it, and we want to get you to this holy grail of being able to maintain a physique that you're happy with, right? That's what we're all aiming for. So what would you say that you would take forward from that dieting phase that maybe you and Claire could change in the next time you do that?
I wouldn't go as low with calories ever again. It was too much. And I got to the point where I think it wasn't getting anywhere, because like by the time I got to the weekend, I was like, I'm sick of this.
Yeah. So then obviously you would overeat on the weekends, and then probably you could have had more calories during the week, right?
Yeah, I probably could have done, and it probably worked a little bit better, but you live and learn, don't you?
100%, and probably 90% of people have done exactly the same. That's what people do, obviously, without even thinking about it. So every time someone says, I'm going to start a diet on Monday, and they write down like all these meals that I'm going to eat or not eat, all these stupid like cabbage diets, and then it gets to the weekend and then it's like, okay, well, I've been good, I can have this.
That Friday.
Or if you're dieting and it doesn't really feel like much of a diet, obviously with being in a fat loss phase, the nature of it is your body's not getting in enough nutrients to be able to hold that position, so it burns fat as fuel. You're going to get hungry at periods. But if we just go with, okay, for Jane, we know that she doesn't want to do low calorie, what we're going to do is diet for longer, so that we still get to the end result, but at the end of it you can probably maintain it on a higher amount of calories. That sounds better to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. And you can eat some cake.
Only a little bit, teeny bit.
So another thing is to know what your long-term goals are. How long are you planning to stay in this phase and have a long-term plan? So I know Claire's big on this as well, so she always bangs on about the lifestyle change, but how does that look in an individual thing? Because it's all well and good us saying, right, do this as a lifestyle. Yeah, we do, because we fucking enjoy it. But how does that transpire to somebody who is literally doing this for body composition? Because there's nothing wrong with going through this and starting this process because you want to look better. Like, that is fine. That is good. Like, that's probably 90% of the reason people come to us. Nobody really signs up and goes, I want to join to coaching because I want to sleep better and I want to be less stressed. I want to look good naked is mainly like the reasons why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do we then get you in the short term to start thinking about your long-term goals? But it needs to be that part of the thought process, which is why we don't do this challenge mentality, which is why we always, well, Claire mainly bangs on about the lifestyle change. I need to get a bit
Does
better.
she? I've never noticed.
If you cut Claire open, it'll say SME in the middle. But it's true. So if you don't have a goal that is longer than 12 months when it comes to this, then it's probably something for you to think about and consider. And the last one I put is don't have a this or that mentality, which will lead me nicely on to the next bit. Sorry if I'm rushing, guys. It's saying I've got a minute left. The last thing that somebody asked was creating a balance between training and nutrition and having a social life. So I've structured it in that way that it's between training and nutrition and having a social life. That question in its entirety is this or that mentality. So whoever asked this question at the time of asking that question has a this or that mentality. It doesn't have to be between training and nutrition and having a social life. That is the issue right there. All right. So that's where you need to start thinking about, how am I going to integrate training and nutrition and my social life? Understand that some of the previous habits were not serving you. Embrace the changes for the better. So looking forward to the future. I think this comes back to the point of, are you restricting too much? And I think obviously in that scenario you probably were, and maybe discovering new habits that you enjoy. I've put be more child because I think it's easy for us to go down the road of, okay, we have to go out eating, drinking. I put be more child so it might get us a little bit more creative. Quick fire questions, go, go, go. If you've got any more questions, sorry, it's going to cut me off because I'm a cheapskate and I don't pay for the pro version, which I will start doing. If you've got any questions, hit me up on